This chart shows a classic normal distribution. If you look at physical traits like human height or weight, the data naturally clusters right here in the middle. For decades, tech executives have used this exact math to build digital products, optimizing their roadmaps for the user who sits safely at the peak of the curve. But in the digital ecosystem, that median user is a statistical phantom. If you check your dashboard for a person who logs in for exactly 20 minutes a day and generates exactly $5 in revenue, you will find an empty space. Digital behavior does not obey physical laws. Instead, digital engagement follows a power law. A power law is a mathematical relationship where a massive volume of activity is concentrated at one extreme, leaving a long, thin trail of highly intense activity at the other. The middle completely drops out. What you were actually looking at are two entirely different populations forced onto the same graph. On the far left, you have an enormous crowd of casual visitors sitting at the 50th percentile of engagement. Far out on the right edge of the tail, you have a tiny, hyperactive elite operating at the 95th percentile. Averaging these two groups together creates a mathematical ghost. When you design for the arithmetic mean, you build a product that underserves the simple needs of the masses and ignores the intense demands of your most active users. Let's isolate that massive group on the left. This is the P50 median user. Think of them as a tourist. They visit your application sporadically, they observe, and they consume. The defining trait of the tourist is their extreme aversion to friction. If they encounter a multi-step onboarding process, an unexplained dashboard, or any sudden complexity, their engagement shatters and they abandon the app entirely. Because their patience is incredibly thin, the tourist rarely explores. Data shows the median SaaS user only interacts with about 16% of a product's available features. They find the simplest, most direct sequence of clicks to complete a basic task, the happy path, and they never deviate. In many digital ecosystems, particularly mobile gaming and social media, the tourist's direct financial contribution is exactly $0. They rely entirely on external triggers, like push notifications or email alerts, just to remember your product exists. You need tourists because they provide platform density, baseline audience metrics, and reach. But if you rely on them to generate revenue or teach you what your product should become, your business will starve. At the extreme right edge of the curve sits the P95 whale. While the tourist visits your product, the whale lives inside it. They weave your tool into their minute-by-minute workflow and build their daily habits around your interface. Look at this grid representing a product's user base. It illustrates participation inequality, a principle where a tiny fraction of a community contributes nearly all the value. These 5 glowing squares represent the whales. They make up just 5% of the headcount, yet they drive 80% of the revenue, create 80% of the content, and generate virtually all the network effects. Because their volume is so high, their needs are the exact opposite of the tourist. The tourist needs a simple, guided, step-by-step wizard. The whale hates wizards. The whale demands keyboard shortcuts, bulk editing, API access, and pure, unbounded acceleration. The gap between these two users varies by industry. In e-commerce, the physical limits of human consumption keep the ratio tight. You only need so many pairs of shoes, so a whale shopper only visits the site 3 to 5 times more often than a tourist. This bar chart compares AI prompt complexity, and it shows what happens when physical constraints disappear. A tourist sends a single ChatGPT prompt of about 50 words. A P95 worker writes multi-turn prompts averaging 1,750 words. That is a 35 times difference in message complexity. In entirely discretionary categories, the math becomes astronomical. Social media power users complete 70 times more interface tasks than the median user, and in freemium mobile games, the median spend is exactly $0, while the whale spending is uncapped, meaning the financial ratio is effectively infinite. The whale pays for the servers, the developers, and the tourist's free ride. When a whale submits a support ticket about a broken macro or a missing advanced setting, do not dismiss it as an edge case. In a heavy-tailed digital economy, the edge case is your structural center of gravity. How do you design a single application when one user needs a simple tricycle and the other requires an F-16 fighter jet? The answer is progressive disclosure. This is a design framework where a system delays showing advanced features until the user specifically requests them or demonstrates the skill to use them. It allows you to build 2 entirely different products in the same space. The top layer is optimized for the tourist. It is a clean, frictionless lobby focused on the 20% of features that drive baseline activation. The settings are hidden. The complex configurations are buried. There is one blindingly obvious action to take. But beneath that lobby, you engineer deep, uncapped wells of utility. You build prompt libraries, multi-agent workflows, and custom data exports explicitly for the whale. You connect these two worlds with behavioral triggers. Do not ask novices to self-identify as power users. Instead, wait for a user to adopt a keyboard shortcut, attempt a batch export, or hit a specific usage threshold. When they prove their readiness, the trapdoor opens and the complex machinery reveals itself. By hiding the advanced tools until they are needed, you protect the masses from interface anxiety while handing the elite an infinite playground. A mature digital product survives by actively fattening the tail, the deliberate process of converting low-value tourists into high-value whales. You build UX bridges to manufacture that progression. Gamified daily streaks, algorithmic recommendations, and status tiers are engineered specifically to turn sporadic visits into deeply ingrained daily habits. Generative AI provides a new way to force this evolution through intention translation. Intention translation is a process where an AI turns simple spoken or typed goals into complex software actions. A tourist can simply type what they want, and the AI agent instantly executes a high-level workflow, letting a novice output whale-level results without ever learning the interface. To win the digital economy, you must banish the mathematical average, hide the complexity for the masses, uncap the limits for the elite, and deliberately build the escalators that turn your tourists into whales.